In 2017, a ferry was launched in Halifax called Vincent Coleman. How this seemingly random ferry ended up with the name of a seemingly random person, well, we're gonna have to tell some backstory. In the First World War, Halifax became a very important city, mainly because it was the closest port in Canada that could hold deep-water ships to Europe. The Americans also used it to ferry their troops there. The Olympic even went there to take Canadian troops to the war for a bit. On December 5th, 1917, the SS Mont Blanc made it to Halifax Harbor. However, at the time, it was getting late, and so they deployed the submarine nets, so that submarines could not sneak into the harbor and wreak havoc. Meanwhile, inside the harbor as well, a ship called the SS Emo was waiting. It was loading up with coal, but because its final shipment of coal was late, it had to stay in the harbor because it couldn't make the time for the submarine nets to be closed, but they did let the pilot stay on board to sleep. With over 2,000 tons of high explosives, the SS Mont Blanc made it into the harbor the next day, piloted by a harbor pilot known as Francis Mackey. However, as the Emo was following the shipping lane, the ship called the SS Clara was in the wrong lane, and so the Emo had to veer into the wrong lane. Then, she almost collided with a tug, causing her to veer off course again, right into the path of the Mont Blanc. The two ships turned and both reversed their engines, but you can't stop a ship in 2 seconds, and so within seconds, she was able to collide. Meanwhile, the Mont Blanc steered away and crashed into the harbor, but her crew abandoned ship immediately. They knew there was nothing they could do, and the Emo knew what was going to happen as well, so it sailed away. Meanwhile, a conductor named Vince Coleman saw that the ships were going to explode and so ran. But then, they realized that there was many trains coming, loaded with over 300 people each. Vince then ran for his station and sent a last message. I won't say the whole thing here, but it's pretty chilling and I suggest you look it up. It basically warned the trains to turn away because if they kept on going they might explode. And then it ended with, "Goodbye, boys." The Mont Blanc exploded, being incinerated immediately, while the Emo was pushed by the explosion and crashed into the harbor. One cannon from the SS Mont Blanc was thrown over halfway across the province. The entire province, and the entire continent of North America, in fact, felt the explosion. The city of Halifax was ruined, and eventually the trains did come, but that was thankfully after the explosion. Many ships in the harbor, as well as from abroad, came to work as temporary hospitals. However, only one in the harbor, the Old Colony, actually served as a hospital ship for the city. The state of Massachusetts, in fact, raised over $10 million in today's money. And so now, every year, Nova Scotia sends Boston over a Christmas tree to thank them. As for the Emo herself, well, miraculously, she was actually repaired. However, it didn't take long because in 1921, a drunk captain crashed her in Antarctica, and she still sits there to this day, so you can technically go on a little Arctic cruise over there, board the ship, and hey, even if you do, post it to my Discord, I'll definitely pin that. So, why was the Emo's captain drunk? What are the pieces of the Mont Blanc did they not find? And will we ever be able to raise the Emo? It's a very good question.